Hello guys, welcome back to Echelon's Hub, and today I'm going to be talking about Mathieu van der Poel and why he shouldn't be talked of as a future climber. All this started pretty much, well, they all start like this, like there's a big potential in cycling, and in the last few years it just looks like pretty much every rider that comes about should be rated as a future Grand Tour rider. Just almost about anyone, and Van der Poel was obviously included on that list despite being a rider that clearly meets the opposite of these expectations, of this reality. But why am I talking about this in the first place? That's because Eddy Merckx himself, he said in an interview to Het Nieuwsblad, I think Van der Poel can win everything, even the Tour de France. And at the time he said this both about Van der Poel and Evenepoel, and I've done a video about Evenepoel. I've talked about how I believe he can win the Giro this year, it's possible, and he's definitely a future Grand Tour and possibly Tour winner. But including Mathieu van der Poel in that list just feels so wrong to me. It feels so wrong because it comes from a special person, and he should know better than saying that because Van der Poel, you look at him, it just doesn't fit. He's a cyclocrosser, he's a mountain biker. That is his background. All he does, pretty much, is just off-road things. That is where he's really good at, and luckily he's translated that to the road. He's also been, if I'm not mistaken, junior world champion in 2013 on the road. He's clearly a massive talent on the road, but not as a climber. Firstly, because as a cyclocross rider, a main cyclocross rider, he specializes in short, sharp efforts, and that should never be disregarded because that's clearly a sign that that is what he trains for. He doesn't train for long, steady efforts. He trains for short and sharp. That is what he does in cyclocross, that is what he does in mountain biking, and if you look at his road track record, that is exactly what he specializes in. He's perfect in sprints, even better in the punchy sprints, in those uphill drags. He is an amazing puncher, like an Amstel Gold Race we've seen. He's capable of surprising, and he has a lot of power. He's a pure power rider, and looking at some data from Pro Cycling Stats, he measures 1.84 m, so he's not overly tall. There's plenty of Grand Tour riders as tall or taller than him. He weighs 75 kilos. At this data, he's not capable of being a Grand Tour contender. There is always the argument that, of course, he can lose weight. He can lose weight and that way become a Grand Tour contender, the same way Bradley Wiggins did, pretty much the same way that Froome became one. There's several other examples. I've seen this picture, and I think this pretty evidently shows that Van der Poel isn't 75 kilograms because he's fat. He's a bulky rider. He's a punchy, a powerful rider, and it's just his natural build. Like, he is a rider built like this. Like the sprinters are usually bulkier, the powerful classics rider are. It's just a natural, and you could say, of course, that he would, he could lose weight. He could lose the weight in muscle. That's something that's eventually been done with success. I've done a little editing. This is Van der Poel now, and this is my view of what Van der Poel would look like if he would lose a few kilograms. And I don't know, it just doesn't look natural, does it? I don't think so. I don't think so. And then you just got to face the reality. There's such an expectation on young riders nowadays that they can just jump on a Grand Tour and be like, just fight for it immediately. Obviously there's some big exceptions like Pogačar and, my belief, Evenepoel. But Evenepoel hasn't done, but I can say Pogacar. I think it was his Grand Tour debut. He'd finished third and won 3 stages, so it's definitely possible to do something like that. Pogacar is a completely different type of rider, and he's a natural stage racer. He won the Tour de l'Avenir in the previous year. He comes from stage racing background, from riding and racing in the mountains. That is exactly what he does. He doesn't come from other sports, although he may have also a little bit of a background in them. But when you take a look at Van der Poel, he's evidently never done a Grand Tour. He's 25. It doesn't make much of a difference, but he doesn't have that training for it. And the fact then is that he doesn't do many stage races as well. As a rider that's focused a lot on mountain bike during the spring and summer, and that has never really been his main focus. Cyclocross has always been there in the winter. His training has never been towards riding in the mountains, doing steady efforts and long stage races. We've seen him in several, usually the minor races, some pro-continental level 4 or 5 stage day races, usually in France and Belgium. That's where he does it the most. And taking that to a whole nother level, which is World Tour racing, which is usually a week. There's usually a lot of climbing involved, and we've seen it last year, for example. He took a big step. Well, it wasn't really a big step, but he went into the Tour of Norway, and he looked in great form there. He took 2 stage wins, if I'm not mistaken, and there was one stage that had a summit finish. It had a summit finish in Storia Summit, and he finished down. He finished really bad. I remember seeing that stage and thinking, when people say Van der Poel can be a climber, a Grand Tour contender, look at this stage. It wasn't even a hard stage. He was clearly in great form. It was a pan-flat stage, almost with a 3-kilometer summit finish. He completely blew up. He was there in maybe the first 500 meters of the climb, but he just blew up after, because he doesn't have the capabilities of the steady efforts and of keeping up with these. And that is evident in there. And that is evident when we look in the last few years of his racing. Although he doesn't have much World Tour racing, we can't really see him perform at the best level with comparisons to the best riders. It's evident that he's never really done very good in climbing. And the last example that I found was a stage in the 2015 Tour of Alsace. He finished second in a mountainous stage. I will say he had in the same group as Skakman, Lawrence De Plus, Jack Haig, Sam Omen. That is a great background, I must say, but it hasn't translated since he's just focused a lot on cyclocross. He's done very well in what he does, and lastly, you have to talk about his real ambitions. So this year he had the ambition to ride the Vuelta, and he's not going to ride the Grand Tour in 2020. He may do so in 2021. We don't know that yet. With the Olympics going on, I doubt that he will, though, because I think that it would collide with the Tour de France. I'm not sure, but either way, the team wouldn't be invited to the Giro, and there's just so much competition. I doubt that they will be invited for the Vuelta. But it's always an ambition to have. But the most important thing about that is that some weeks ago he said that he is going to be focusing on the 2024 Olympics in Paris as well. So not only is that some sort of relief that if he doesn't fulfill his goal in 2021, he can do it in 2024. He's not going to have so much pressure put on himself mainly, and it speaks a lot about his ambitions. I mean, someone that is going to clearly be focusing on mountain biking and also having cyclocross there in the middle until 2024. So for another 4 years, he's going to be 29 at the time, and he's not going to be focusing on Grand Tours and on mountains. They are going to be building blocks if he does them, experiences, but he's not going to fight for them, evidently. That's, I don't think that takes really much debate, but since it has been an interesting subject in the last few weeks, I've decided to bring it up and share a bit of my opinion. I don't know if you think about this the same way that I do. If you don't, leave a comment down below. I would love to hear your opinion, and I would love to discuss further about this. I want to see other sides. If you like this video, if you like this new content that I'm doing, I hope you like this one, and I'll see you next time.